Yep, okay. Well, welcome to the Wednesday, October 18th, 2023 electronic meeting of the Ann Arbor Transportation Commission. This meeting is being held electronically, but we intend to conduct this meeting similarly to an in-person meeting. Public comment will be via telephone or Zoom only. To speak during any of the public comment opportunities, please call 206-337-9723 and enter meeting ID number 934-6385-2907 or join via the Zoom link. This information is also available on the published agenda in the public notices section of the city website and on the broadcast of this meeting on CTN channel 16. Chris, if you could now call roll.
Okay, I will now call roll. I've received regrets from Commissioner Margolis, who will not be able to attend. Please say here and from where you're dialing when your name is called. Commissioner Bolin,
Here from Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Ackman,
Here, Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Brovin,
Here from Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Otomaki,
Here from Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Hook,
Here from Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Keeler,
Here from Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Clayman,
Here from Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Lee. Okay, Commissioner Carpenter. Okay.
Hi, here from Ann Arbor.
Okay. Commissioner Hess,
Here from Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Hutchinson,
Here from Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Margolis is absent. Lieutenant Mike Sherba.
Here from Tyrone Township.
Okay, and I believe we have quorum.
All right, thank you. There are two items on the consent agenda, approval of the agenda and approval of the minutes. Are there any modifications to the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented? Moved by Julie, seconded by one move. All those in favor of the motion, please say yes or raise your hand.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no or raise your hand. Consent agenda is approved. Next up, we have the public comment section. This is an opportunity for persons to speak for up to 3 minutes. Again, please call 206-337-9723 and enter meeting ID number 934-6385-2907 or connect via Zoom as described on the agenda. City staff will select callers that have raised their hand one by one using the last 3 digits of your phone number or the person's Zoom ID. In order to electronically raise your hand to indicate your desire to speak, please press *9 on your phone or select the raise hand button in Zoom. You'll hear an automated announcement that the host is allowing you to speak. When speaking, please move to a quiet area, mute any television or background sounds so that we can hear you clearly. Please state your name at the beginning of your comments. Christopher, who do we have?
Okay, the first number is ending in 955. I will now allow you to speak. You have up to 3 minutes as soon as you start.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kirk Westfall, 3505 Charter Place. I just would like to call in to support the resolution regarding lane conversion. As the resolution lays out, the safety case for lane conversions is really solid. There's a significant body of research on the safety improvements of lane conversions for every category of road user, pedestrians, cyclists, motorists, from both all over the country and from our own experience in Ann Arbor. The city's commitment to Vision Zero makes it very clear that zero means zero, and as far as I can tell, it's practically impossible to have Vision Zero compliant multi-lane car roads. If we had to rebuild our road network from scratch, I'm assuming we wouldn't want to recreate any roads that hurt people like our multi-lane roads disproportionately do now. We wouldn't want roads where transit was slower than driving, or where we wouldn't allow our children to bike or had to worry about them crossing. I think about this on a daily basis because my own son has to cross a dangerous multi-lane road to get to Huron High School. And to me, it's just not necessary, and I'm glad you're considering reforming these roads. That said, I'd like to suggest a couple of modifications for your consideration. with regard to the partial rescinding of resolution R18275, I think that's a great thing to do. I guess I was curious as to why we're leaving the rest of the whereas, the rest of the resolve clauses of that resolution in place, because it spells out a neighbor notification process as well as additional process with Transportation Commission back and forth, which would cause a significant delay, I think, in implementation. Secondly, I think it would be wise to strike the reference to the Federal Highway Administration guidance of 25,000 ADT threshold, because that conflicts with Vision Zero. And I just generally don't think we should be putting any faith in the Federal Highway guidance, because they're not a Vision Zero agency.
30 seconds.
And lastly, I would like you to share in one of the resolve clauses what your vision is for how quickly these reforms should be done. Council has until 2025 to eliminate deaths and serious injury, so I'd encourage you to do the math and aspire to meet that, and let council debate whether they choose to dedicate the resources or not. Thank you for your consideration. I look forward to the discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next speaker is Clark Charnetsky. You will now be allowed to speak. You have 3 minutes, and I'll give you a 30-second heads up.
There. My name is Clark Charnetsky. I live in Ann Arbor, and tonight I am representing the Michigan Association of Railroad Passengers, a group that has been in operation now for 50 years. My comments are with regard to the plans of MDOT to improve safety, including fencing along the Michigan line through Ann Arbor. There's been a lot of contention on this. I see people going in different directions. And the resolution passed by City Council the other night, when you got into the resolve part, we heard calls for re-engage, coordinate, communicate, and so forth. But more communication will not happen unless there's a mechanism in place to carry it out. What I'm proposing is either a subcommittee of this commission, or maybe somebody from the city administration, to monitor what's going on, work as a coordinator, get the different parties involved together, the city of Ann Arbor, MDOT, their consultant, Border Trail, and residents from the area, to try to come to some consensus, at least let people know what's going on, because there are a lot of different claims made. Some appear to be true and some not so true, but I think this would really help matters. And please consider doing this. Also, I want to give a shout out to John Waterman, who's there with his members from Peak, who will be presenting later on. I'm on the local advisory council for the smart bus system, and they come to meetings in Detroit, almost every meeting. So thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see anyone else with their raised hand. If there's anyone that would like to comment, this is your time. Okay, Brett, I think we are good to go.
All right, seeing no one, we'll move on. I'd like to point out to the commissioners that there were 7 emails received since the last meeting, so those are included in your packet. Please review those if you haven't already. Next up is,
Brett, sorry to interject. I want to say some of those were uploaded, I think, what was it, today, Chris, or yesterday? Because some came in late. So if you open the packet on Friday, I think you saw 2 or 3. Some other ones came in, so we always just like to highlight that. But thank you, Brett, for highlighting that as well.
All right, next up, business. First, road diet resolution. Dharma has drafted a resolution she'd like us to consider for a recommendation this evening related to road diets, also known as road reconfigurations. So Dharma, if you could walk us through what you've authored, and we'll open to the floor to questions and discussion.
Thanks, I'd be happy to. I'll kind of give a preamble and then maybe we can put the resolution on the screen with the resolve clauses. So first I want to start off by giving credit to my colleague, Councilmember Briggs. We've been working together on this resolution for quite some time with staff, and it's truly been a team effort. So I appreciate the work that she's done with me and also the work of staff. This has been through a few different revisions, and really our goal was to be able to feasibly meet the ambitions of our transportation plan and our Vision Zero goal, which was mentioned in the public comments. Fundamentally, this resolution is about saving lives. As everyone at this table, I think, knows, speed kills, it seriously injures, and wider multi-lane roads encourage speeding and are just more dangerous for all road users. An interesting fact that we put in the resolution: streets with 4 or more lanes comprise just 7% of our streets within the city, but also account for 40% of severe crashes. So we already know that the city and staff are taking serious steps to address deadly speeds on our roads through the speed management program, and lane reductions or reconfigurations are in the existing toolbox. But basically what this resolution is asking is City Council to direct the city administrator to utilize the speed management program as well as the annual resurfacing program to evaluate opportunities for road configurations and to incorporate these into the annual plan. Just lost my view. So you will see a little bit of, I think track changes might still be in here because there were a couple of things that changed since the last time that we talked with staff. And so I kind of wanted to call that out. Do you want to go down to the resolve clauses and I can talk through them? There are a lot of whereas clauses, so I'm sorry that you have to scroll so much. One thing I did want to note is I think that in the last meeting, if I recall correctly, we were presented with the city's approach to lane reductions, lane reconfigurations. And I believe in that presentation, there was a figure of a certain number of roads, and they were all listed, which we listed in the whereas clauses too, I believe. But what Councilmember Briggs pointed out to me after taking a bike ride last week is, like, we have other patches in the city. And one example is a stretch of road it's on Liberty between Maple and Stadium is 5 lanes. And then the rest of it, I think, is 3 lanes. So there are other patches of multi-lane road throughout the city than the ones listed, which is why we changed that to most. So first resolve clause says to use the speed management program as well as the annual resurfacing program to look for opportunities for road reconfigurations and incorporate it into the capital improvements work plan. And the goal is really to reconfigure multi-lane roads to advance our city's safety and sustainability goals. This is what I added after talking with staff, and basically says that after evaluation, if staff advises against lane reduction in a specific instance, we recommend that recommendation be submitted to City Council and subject further approval. And I think basically what this is trying to allow for is that there could be a reason not to, such as a planned dedicated bus lane, something of that nature. And so I think we wanted to allow some room for that. I can keep going, or I don't know how you want to run this, Brett, if you want to pause.
Yeah, maybe I'll go. There's only a few resolve clauses.
Yeah.
I think so. Maybe you'll, let's stop after the first one. I think this one kind of contains the meat of the resolution anyway. So questions, comments? Yes, Pete.
I've got a couple observations about this. First of all, I think this is a really good clause. I mean, the whole thing in general is very good. This might be the place to put in our projected timeline. I guess I'd like to propose 2025, since that aligns with our Vision Zero goal. So I guess I'd like to propose that we add our timing for when we expect these to be done. The other thing I'd like to say about this one then is that we mentioned 2 ways to do this. So capital improvements, and the the resurfacing program and the speed management program. But if there's some other way that we could achieve it, some other way to get funding or some other program, like I wouldn't want to exclude that. So if we could make this say like including these methods, let's find a way to do it just to keep our options open is I guess what I would like.
Yeah, Nick.
Thank you.
Pete was hitting on something there at the end there that I was noting as well, that I think this is a note that I had made when we were reviewing this that I think didn't get changed. I would suggest that instead of saying as well as the annual resurfacing / reconstruction program, I would suggest that we say as well as capital construction projects. That casts a wider net. By saying annual resurfacing reconstruction program, we're actually limiting what projects this would apply to. So that would be my suggestion, is to modify that.
Yeah, Dharma?
Is that not covered by the part that says incorporate into the annual capital improvements work plan? It's like the next sentence down. Yeah. I'm fine to change it. I was under the impression that was catching everything.
I would suggest changing it. I think it would be clearer.
Okay.
But
to me, it reads like those other things filter it before it would get into the CIP,
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, or if there's anything that doesn't show up in the CIP for one reason or another, like capital preventative maintenance projects don't always show up by name in the CIP. That, like I said, just a wider net, and I think it would be clearer for us people executing it.
Got it. I will let other people speak.
So I've got a question. Would this be, so it's not an annual or any kind of periodic evaluation? Is this intended to be a one-time evaluation? So like, one of the multi-lane roads, if it goes through resurfacing or something else, then it's not advised to do a lane reduction. Is that it? Or does it, if a road doesn't get nominated for speed management program or has a CIP project on it, it won't be considered? Or is the vision that every X amount of time, all 9 of these would, could, or should be evaluated?
I think the intent was to try to incorporate this into existing programs. And so the purpose in calling out resurfacing and capital improvements was that is something that the city is engaged in across the city. This year, they did some multi-lane roads. So, as part of that process, evaluating it for it. And then we also know that concurrent with that, we have a big push for the speed management program where the city staff has been engaged in evaluating different options, and also they've done a lot of work to prioritize what are the most high priority, and because these tend to be where the most crashes are, I would think that they're within that, and so it should be, I guess what I'm saying is, part of all of those existing processes, or that was the intent. I'm also happy to go ahead, Raven.
No, please finish your thought. I was going to ask a different question.
Oh, that's okay. So Pete mentioned why not put a date on this, 2025. And I guess I just wanted to speak to the rationale, because an earlier version of this did have a date around it. There was concern that it would knock out other important work that is going on around the city to make our roads safer. And so this change, I guess what you see before you, is a result of conversations with staff that I think had Councilmember Briggs and I pretty convinced that the most feasible way to make this happen without pushing other important work out of the way was to do this, incorporate it within existing programs. So that was the rationale.
Okay, so it's anticipated that it will remain a part of the speed management plan forever. It's always in the toolkit. It's not, we didn't pick a date to sunset this, but we also didn't pick a date to evaluate all multi-lane roads prior to, right?
Right.
So although, yeah, we're not saying we're going to evaluate all of them by 2025. This will always be an available option after 2025 as well. And hopefully we'll get to as many as we possibly can before then. Is that the right understanding?
I think so.
Okay. I also had a question. Does this cover multi-lane intersections? There are a lot of single lane roads that when they come up to an intersection, they split out into left turn, right turn lanes, that kind of thing. And you end up with an intersection that, although it has single lane roads approaching it, the intersections are maybe, 3 or 4 lanes in each direction.
That's a good question. We had not discussed that specific instance, no.
And that would, I think, add way, way, way more, for better or for worse. But yeah, I just wasn't sure if that is something that should be considered or not. Well, maybe that can, I don't know. I don't think, we're going to be able to consider whether that should be added here, right here, right now. I guess we could, think about that. Are there other questions or comments?
Yeah, Brett, if I may, Jeremy, the new language, if you could walk me through just logistically how this plays out. So there's kind of, whenever a project is up, staff evaluates it for a road reconfiguration or road diet. And then if we determine that it is not recommended, it goes to city council subject to approval from city council. Is that?
Yes. Sorry. What's the question?
No, I was just the some of the language, I was just trying to understand the transportation, but I see now the Transportation Commission recommends.
Yeah, sorry, changing it for this meeting. So maybe it's not worded in a very clear way. And maybe it should come to this commission first. But initially the vision was, and this came out of, again, discussions with staff, where I think the question for me was, if we left this out, because initially did not have the track changes in here, is that a change from current practice? Like, would that result in the change that we want to see, which is a move towards reconfiguring these roads away from multi-lane? And so I think that's why we inserted this kind of, another layer, basically a layer of approval to not do it. So the default should be, we should do it. And if we don't, there should be a good reason and subject to approval of council. So that was the rationale.
Okay, thank you.
Pete?
Following up on what you said, Brett, you asked about like what qualifies like roads with multiple lanes at intersections. That is a thing that I agree might need some clarity. But also the idea of what constitutes a multi-lane road. I mean, is that already defined somewhere? Like Ashley has 2 lanes on it, but they're in opposite directions. I don't think it needs to be reconfigured. Division has 2 lanes and they're both in the same direction. I think it does need to be reconfigured, or Stadium has 2 in each direction. It needs to be configured or reconfigured. So maybe there's some clarity there on exactly what we mean by multi-lane road.
Dharma?
I saw the question or the comment come up earlier, and I think the email thread that you might be talking about. And I looked up the definition of multi-lane road, and it has 2 or more lanes going in one direction. I guess the transportation folks on one can tell me if that is the right definition, but I I think it does have a specificity there.
Yeah, I mean, again, I would assume my understanding is consistent with what I think the intent is, what you just described, Arma. But if further clarification is needed, that's, at this body's discretion.
I guess based on what you guys said, I'm comfortable.
Okay, if there's no other immediate comments on the first resolve, we can, oh, Julie, sorry.
I don't know if this is specific to the first resolve clause, but I just wonder how this, if it's decided that we don't need a dedicated bus lane, but there are buses that go down that road, how would this affect bus travel? Or, are the buses going to be holding up traffic, or how's that going to work?
So I'll try to speak to that. Usually what happens on roads that have already been reconfigured with diets, the transit vehicles are actually considered part of the traffic calming solutions. So usually when a bus makes a stop, it's only, unless there's a wheelchair or something like that, it's usually maybe 10 to 15 seconds at the most. And that allows the vehicles to keep moving, but it also kind of puts, I don't know what's the right word for this, puts the prudent driver in control. So whoever's going slowest down the corridor ends up, kind of determining the speed. And then if a bus is pulled over, it's kind of a gray area from what we've been told about. If people want to pull around it, they're welcome to, but that's their decision.
Does that address your question, Julie? Any follow-ups or anything?
No, I guess I just really like the idea of dedicated bus lanes. And so right now in this clause, the staff have to get approval to do a bus lane, I think. Is that am I reading that right? So is that going to discourage bus lanes? I don't think so, but that was just one of my concerns.
Go ahead, Dharma.
Yeah, to speak to that certainly was not the intent, but I can understand the interpretation. Really, the intent is it would be great to have dedicated, to take these lanes and convert them to bus-only lanes. I would love to support that. But I think it kind of plays into what are the long-term plans. So this wasn't intended to put an obstacle, but was meant to give an example of a good reason why we would maybe not convert it to a bike lane, that we would keep it open for bus. But I appreciate your comments.
Yes, Matt.
Oh, thank you, and hello to everyone. For those of you I haven't met, I'm Matt Carpenter. I'm the CEO over at The Ride. I think the question about bus lanes is addressed in the next resolved category or paragraph. And Councillor Ekman and I and Ken have had some good conversations about that this afternoon. I don't think anything in this paragraph prohibits bus lanes. They're mostly handled in the next one.
Thanks. Yeah, just at the top of my head, I think there are 4 TC1 areas that have multi-lane roads going through them. So yeah, it might come up. I guess it's true that it might come up. So yeah, let's move on to the second resolve clause, please. Or first of all, do we want to formally amend the first resolve clause now? With Nick's recommended wording for I think it's the first sentence of the first resolve clause. Nick,
I'll move to make that amendment. This is Molly.
Okay, thank you. Nick, can you maybe say the word, or which words to replace again?
Yes, or do you want me to send language? Would that be easier?
Yeah, if you can do that in a way that we can see it and vote on it and tonight, then that'd be great.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I should just say it because I'm not sure how to best do that. So, let's see. True value.
Can you move up just a little bit to get the whole resolve clause?
Yeah. So the Transportation Commission recommends. Oh well, it's okay. I'm losing it there. It just got really big and split off the screen. Okay. Okay, now it's getting really small and I can't read it anymore.
Can't read that, Nick? Come on.
Yeah, apologies. It's kind
I'm not that young anymore.
Working on a little bit of a delay here, I suspect.
Okay, the Transportation Commission recommends that City Council direct the city administrator to utilize the speed management program as well as capital construction projects, comma.
Okay, so that was moved by Molly. Is that right, Molly?
Yep.
Seconded by Dharma. Can we do a quick vote to amend the first resolve clause before we move on to the next resolve clause? All right, so all those in favor of, well, no, we should vote on the whole thing. I'm sorry. Yeah. We'll vote on the whole, no, wait, I'm sorry. We have to amend it. We have to vote on the amendment, don't we? Yeah, okay. So let's vote on the amendment to the first resolve clause as Nick just described it. All those in favor?
Brett, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm not the best parliamentarian, but I think maybe if Dharma sees the amendment as friendly, she can accept it, and then it can be part of the resolution at the end as suggested. Is that sound right to folks?
That'd be great if she did.
Sounds right to me.
Friendly.
Okay, great.
Okay.
All right, moving on. Second resolve clause.
Okay, so again, this is trying to incorporate bus rapid transit and facilitate a conversation with the city about doing so. So Transportation Commission recommends that City Council direct city administrator to partner with the ride to prioritize road projects that facilitate the integration of bus rapid transit, as well as non-motorized improvements, such as things like floating bus stops to protect and enhance bicycle connectivity and pedestrian safety along busy transit corridors. And part of this was in response to something that I believe that Ken brought up at the last meeting, just trying to reduce conflicts between non-motorized folks and the bus.
All right, questions or comments on the second resolve clause? Matt, please.
Thank you, everyone. So just a couple of clarifications I'd like to suggest. So first, the name of the agency is still the Ann Arbor Area Transportation Authority. It always feels like a stutter. I know, AATA, it feels unnatural, but if we wouldn't mind dumping that in there, I appreciate it. And then I'd like to, again, friendly suggestion, bus rapid transit. I'd like to suggest replacing those words with bus lanes, comma, priority measures, and non-motorized improvements. The reason for that suggestion is bus rapid transit is a service. It's not the change in the streetscape per se. And we may want or see opportunities for transit improvements like bus lanes without a BRT line. And a good example of this is many of the large radial roads addressed in this resolution are some of the roads that bring commuters into the city from longer distances. We have aspirations for a large park and ride express bus system in the future. For example, coming down highways onto Plymouth Road. That may not be a BRT system, but it would really benefit from bus lanes and priority measures. So just for clarifications going forward, it's not the name of the service so much as it is the changes in the streetscape. So if we can just have it read, the integration of bus lanes, comma, priority measures, and non-motorized. I think that might be more clear.
Thank you, Dharma. Do you consider that friendly?
I do. I wonder if we want any discussion about it just first. People have
Great.
questions, comments.
Yeah, are there other comments or questions?
Just maybe someone could work on smoothing out the sentence a bit, because I think it makes the sentence a little clumpier, because then you have that such as clause there. So it may just require a little finesse.
Sorry, Raymond, that you have to finesse on the fly. I think that's friendly as far as I'm considered. If no one has anything else to say.
All right.
Shall we move on to the next?
Yeah, let's move on to the final resolve clause.
Okay. Resolved, basically, this is the one that's about repealing council measures in the past that I think have been somewhat of an obstacle to road configurations. And that's repealing the clause from this resolution that was from 2018. That requires that in conjunction with any proposed lane reductions, city staff shall provide council with current traffic volume data, including peak hour volumes and volume to capacity ratios, as well as projections for safety improvements and traffic delays. So we don't need this, and it seems like it's been an obstacle. Staff can carry out their work without bringing this part back to.
Are there other things of value in that resolution, R 18275, that are worth keeping? I guess I don't know what's in the rest of it.
That's a good question, because it's been a while since I've looked at the whole thing.
And I'm curious, well, never mind, I retract that. Any comments or questions from anyone else? Okay, seeing no other comments or questions on this, on the entire thing, on the entire resolution. Oh yeah, Pete.
Can you hear me? I've got a. Okay, so I do have now that we're done with that last resolve clause, I do have a couple of other things I'd like to recommend for an amendment. We've got the whereas clause that lists the streets, and I'd like to either add some to it or make that a little more far-reaching. So it says there are at least 9 multi-lane roads. So we could either say including Stadium Boulevard, Packard, etc., or we could add in Broadway, 5th Division, North Main, Washington, Huron, possibly. Also Green Road and someone observed Liberty. So there's others out there. Like I don't want to limit just to the ones that we've listed on there. So I'd like to make sure that this is far-reaching. So I don't know how do you want to go about changing resolve clauses or whereas clauses, or do we need to?
And yeah, I think it'd be the same way if Dharma considers it friendly. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing instead of the hyphen that's there, saying something like including that list among others, or among other candidates. I don't know. Just make it very clear that this is not an exhaustive list and there might be others.
And others might come into our responsibility too. Maine, Washtenaw, Huron. Like we've got that out there, that possibility of us taking over from MDOT. If that happened, we would want these to be included for consideration.
Yeah, Dharma?
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. In fact, I would suggest that we don't try to enumerate them all because we will probably miss them. So it's, I think, better to say including and others at the end.
Okay.
Okay. So I would say under the city's jurisdiction now or in the future, something like that. Just I guess maybe since it's just the whereas clause, it's not that critical. So
Okay.
so we're just gonna add the word including then. That's what it sounds like.
And maybe some more words at the end of the sentence or end of that whereas statement.
So do you want a proposal or how do you want
to? I think Dharma, you get that what we're going after, right? So,
yeah, but I'm not sure.
Others or among possible future, including possibly others, and
But just to clarify, are we voting on this tonight? Because if so, I guess I kind of want to. I don't know if Raymond needs the language now. Raymond.
Yeah, definitely intend to vote on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm taking loose notes. I probably don't have the exact wording for everything, but so for this one, I said including but not limited to, which isn't any of the exact words anyone said, but I think captures the sentiment.
That sounds great.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Other comments or questions before we vote?
So do we need to vote on that? Do I need to move that we replace or that we add including but not limited to Stadium Boulevard?
I guess I assume that would be friendly. Dharma, is that considered a friendly amendment? Okay.
Okay. All right. Let's see. The other thing was then striking the whereas clause. Kirk brought this up in his public comment. Striking the whereas clause about the Federal Highway Administration. I guess I don't want the 25,000 to be misconstrued as guidance for this in the future. Like, even if they are above 25,000, I still want to evaluate them.
Any other thoughts on that?
No.
My thought is that it doesn't hurt. I mean, it's just a higher number than we would consider, but
you mean you're saying it doesn't hurt to have the clause in there? I don't understand.
I think that's my feeling, but Dharma?
I'll tell you my rationale and why I think it belongs there. I think it belongs there because it's setting a context in which even an organization that's not known for, being super progressive on transportation has set a volume threshold that most of our roads, are not surpassing. And I think that's worth pointing out. Councilmember Briggs and I are working on a separate level of service policy idea that I think gets at whether vehicle counts and delays are really the best way that we should be thinking about how we evaluate, road configurations. But in this case, as a whereas clause, it seemed worth calling out. It still says to evaluate all of the roads. So it's not, I don't think it restricts us in any way. But that's my view.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a resolve clause, it's a whereas. It's this piece of information to provide some context about what the FHA, says, but I don't know. Any other thoughts on that one? Is Pete, do you want to?
I think Dharma's explanation is adequate.
So I think
we can leave it. We can leave it there.
Okay. Okay.
I do have one more though, if you don't mind. I would like to add as I mentioned, a time-bound requirement or to the goal. I'd like the goal to be time bound. I don't know if that should go into the first resolve clause or be a separate resolve clause, but I guess I would like to propose that we say with the goal of reconfiguring all multi-lane roads by December 31st, 2025 to advance the city's safety and sustainability goals. I could put that language in the chat if that would be helpful.
Would you want to say the goal of reconfiguring or the goal of evaluating all roads for reconfiguration?
It's a good question.
I don't know if I could sign up for the first one. I think, the point of this is to force an evaluation process, but I don't think we're dictating the outcome of that process, especially in light of us.
I agree with you, Brett. I think that's a good point. Let me
Hey Pete, you're muted if you're
I think that's a good recommendation of evaluating, the goal of evaluating. Let me put that in the chat.
Yeah, I'll let Dharma and Raymond talk about that, because I know you guys mentioned that there was some mention of a date in a previous iteration, so maybe talk about where that conversation went.
Yeah, I mean, this will be our focal point. This will be the work we do. So, I mean, these evaluations are not easy. They take a lot of data collection and analysis. So if this is the work we should do primarily, then this would be the work we would do. So what we were suggesting, the reason why we suggested when a road is kind of up for programmed improvements that we evaluate at that time, then it's just part of the natural sort of, progression of that project. This would alter not just the work that our team does, but it would affect the entire kind of, if there's supposed to be evaluated and then implemented, that would change a lot of the capital priorities for the city. So there's kind of a sort of ripple effect in terms of all the work that it would affect. Everything would have to shift to focus on this, which, if that's the priority, then that's the priority.
Pete?
So if we had this time bound by 20 years, let's say, we're going to touch every road in the city within the next 20 years to repave it or restripe it. So that would not appreciably change the workload or the prioritization. At least that's my assumption, that it wouldn't be a radical change. So if we're going to do it in the next 2 years, it does radically change our priorities and our timeline for this. What's some number in between 2 and 20 that is the right compromise that changes our priorities a little bit, or changes them enough, and changes them, in a way that accurately reflects how much we are expecting people's lives to be saved by these road reconfigurations, how many crashes we're expecting to avoid. So if there's some number other than 2025, then let's consider it.
Yeah, I don't have an answer. I don't know what the magic number is. I mean, like you said, it's between 2025 and 20 years. I mean, I appreciate, trying to achieve the Vision Zero, and we are committed to that, and we're working towards that.
Dharma?
Raymond, I wondered if you could speak to some of the Vision Zero things that would be kind of knocked out as a queue as a result of, let's just say 2025, because that's the one that's been put on the table, just to make it solid in people's minds.
Well, let's say if we had to start evaluating all roads for road reconfigurations, that would ostensibly require a fair amount of engagement, because the resolution that we refer to, resolution 18 -275, if memory serves me correctly, and I don't have that up, it's actually an engagement resolution. And the engagement resolution talks about the different forms of engagement we're going to do on different types of projects. And then on this last resolved clause, or one of the resolved clauses, talked about the sort of analysis that need to be performed as part of road reconfiguration or road diet. So, you know, if you think about, you know, high profile corridors like Plymouth, Stadium, there's just a lot of moving parts to try to figure out what that road reconfiguration looks like to achieve all the outcomes that we want. We talked about transit, like what's transit roles in these corridors. As I mentioned in previous plans, a lot of the sort of, Matt clarified some of the language about bus rapid transit, but bus rapid transit on city roads aren't programmed until 2035 or 2034. So the question is, if a road reconfiguration is up on Plymouth, which is a sort of high focus corridor for transit, what do we do with that? Does it turn into, a sort of repurposed lane for non-motorized use? Do we do a sort of transit? There's a lot of considerations that go into that. So I'm just talking you through some of the thoughts and, processes and things we'll have to solve for technically. But in terms of what would kind of be swapped out in its place, pretty much a lot of stuff, right? I mean, the speed management program, road reconfigurations are one of the solution sets identified in the speed management program. But we were looking at implementing a lot of other things with the Safe Streets for All grant and, temporary maybe speed humps or things like that on arterials. But if our focus is now on this, our limited staff can't manage all of those things. We can barely manage what we have now. So this is a big lift. So I just want to be honest with you. It's a big lift that's going to require pretty much an all hands on deck analysis, and a lot of the work that we have in the queue will have to defer.
Okay, Pete, does that answer your question?
No. I mean, I guess I'm looking for guidance on what is realistic and what would not create a lot of churn in plans. And I did not get that guidance.
Dharma.
I can appreciate that you're not going to like this answer, but I think what we arrived at was that. So we were trying to be responsive to not creating a bunch of churn, and this is what we arrived at.
Yep, Pete. Actually, Molly hasn't spoken yet. Molly?
So I think this is sort of building on what Pete is talking about, but I'm wondering, I think having a deadline, even if it's not soon, would be helpful if we put it. I think if we found a deadline where there's time to build this work into the various kinds of work plans that get made, because I know there's planning for next year, there's planning for the next 5 years. Let's get this in those plans, whatever is realistic, so that it doesn't derail the existing work, and that it becomes part of the more part of the regular rhythm, so that we're not necessarily doing all of the roads at one time. And I'm curious about whether that was considered and ruled out, or whether that might be a plausible compromise.
Dharma Raymond, you have an answer for that?
I can't give a date on the fly. I mean, I have to look at our entire program of projects and all the things that we have programmed over the next couple of years to know what has to move forward, what can wait, what we can program in. I can't do that on the fly, in all honesty. And that doesn't feel like a fair request of me.
Okay.
Pete.
Raymond, I think it's okay for you to say you don't know the answer right now. Like that's totally fine. And if the right way to do this is to postpone for a month until we do know the answer, then I'm okay with that too. So if you don't have a sense for what that number is now, that's okay. I guess the other thing I might propose then is that we pick some other number, like 5 or 6 years or something like that. There's two ways we could do it. We could postpone, in my opinion, two ways we could do it. We could postpone until we get an assessment on what the correct number should be, or we should pick something that this group is comfortable with. 28, 5 years.
Dharma, you're the one that's going to be taking this to council. I don't know how you feel about postponement and or throwing a number out there that people can vote yes on if it's amended.
I mean, if you're asking me if I'm comfortable throwing a number there, no, not really. And as far as postponement, I mean, we've been working on this a long time. I don't think a month makes a fundamental difference. But I also don't know if a month is even, I don't know if this request is actually reasonable of Raymond to do in 1 month. So I don't know, Raymond, if you've got thoughts.
If you want us to come back with a date next month, we can try to do that. But I think, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out how you tell me when we need to bring something back. We'll bring something back. We'll figure something out.
I have another compromise proposal. Because nothing we do at TC is binding. And so we can recommend that when council passes a road diet resolution, they put a deadline on it and we don't have to say what it is. And that would give as much time as it's going to take between now and when this resolution comes to council to figure out what a reasonable deadline is. And I don't know if that creates enough wiggle room to put on a deadline that could be, it doesn't have to be a deadline that would open up, that would make sure that it can fit into the work plan as it currently exists, I guess. And we just recommend that there be a deadline, and we don't recommend what that deadline is. Pete, I don't know if that gets at your concerns.
It might. I guess I would also like to observe that the language says goal. It's not like anybody's going to get fired if we don't meet our goal, right? So I think we do need to be time bound. We need to have a goal that we're working towards. Before this, the other thing I'll observe is that council could change that goal later on with another resolution if they wanted to or had to. So,
for clarification, would you be proposing that the work, the time-bound nature of this apply to the work and the completion of reconfiguration, or would it apply just to a preliminary evaluation process where city staff says, yeah, we think this road should be eligible for the work at some point in the future? Is it the work and the actual end of the project, or just an evaluation that could be at kind of staff's discretion?
Is that directed to me, Brett?
Yeah, or anyone who's yeah.
Well, the way I've written it says with the goal of reconfiguring. I mean,
so
I shared the text.
Okay. Julie.
Yeah, I just want to make a case for flexibility not being so bad. we don't want to set a goal, like really focus on this, and then 6 months later there's something else that we also think they really want to we really want them to focus on, and we've already told them to focus on this other thing, and that's not fair. So I don't mind goals, and I understand the goals aren't set in stone, but I just want to put a case out there for flexibility. Building in flexibility is, I think, also good.
Dharma?
I guess I'd also like us to consider what the real goal is. And I think the goal is mode shift. You know, the big sustainability goal is mode shift, and it's 0 deaths on our roads by 2025. Like, those are the goals. And then all of these things are tools. This is a very important tool, and I think we want to push and make clear policy because it's so effective, and it can be arguably done cheaply. Maybe we have layers that make it not so cheap, but I guess I'd prefer the focus on the other goals and the fact that we have multiple ways that we're going about it. And I don't want to cut off our nose to spite our face by pushing a bunch of other stuff that's aimed at the same thing.
For my part, I could get behind a statement where we put a time, something time bound about an evaluation and recommendations. But for reasons that I think Dharma and Julie just said, I don't know that I could get behind even if we call it a goal, a time bound of completing projects. It seems like there's just too much up in the air to dictate project, shovel in the ground kind of schedules. But if there's something about how we could direct staff or ask council to direct staff to at least perform a preliminary evaluation on all of these roads and give a sense of which ones staff thinks could and should receive reconfiguration, so that it's easier to plan for those in the future and to get them into the CIP. Maybe that's something. I don't know. Other thoughts? Pete?
So another way to frame it would be that a road has to be evaluated before capital improvements or the speed management program is completed for them, right? The next time we touch it, we're going to do this. That would be another way to say it. The way I see it now is,
right? The
way I see it now is we are supposed to use the speed management program and the resurfacing and reconstruction program to evaluate opportunities for road reconfigurations. That's not the same to me as saying that every time we restripe a road or we reconstruct a road, we are going to evaluate it. Like, let's not touch another road without evaluating it. Next time we touch it, we're going to evaluate it. And I guess I don't see that here.
Yes, Dharma, sorry.
I think what you said is exactly what we did intend and write. So not really sure what the disconnect is. And I guess I'd wonder if Brett could, or if Raymond could confirm. I mean, that's what I understood this to be. Thought we did write it like that.
Well, that's my understanding of the intent of that first resolve clause, is that anytime we touch the road, that road reconfiguration is something we're supposed to look at.
Yep.
But maybe a clarification, though, maybe what Pete is getting at is, let's say we were going to propose speed humps on green, and this is hypothetical to anybody watching. This is not a real exercise. And that's what we were going to advance as kind of, speed management version 1.0. I don't know if we would have started from a position of necessarily doing a full road diet analysis. Maybe we would have, maybe we wouldn't have. So yeah, I mean, the sequencing, the work and everything, and I'm just struggling a little bit with trying to figure out how we tackle the work now. And what's the driving force behind what it is we're trying to do.
Pete?
So Dharma, to your point, use the speed management program and the annual resurfacing reconstruction program to evaluate opportunities. That doesn't say to evaluate every road that is part of the speed management program and the resurfacing reconstruction program. Can we just say that? Can we just say explicitly the expectation is that every road that goes through these two programs and other improvements will be evaluated? Let's explicitly say that. And the way I read it, after you're directed to use those two programs to evaluate opportunities. Well, after I've evaluated two opportunities, I've satisfied what's in here. I've evaluated opportunities. That's not the same as saying use these and apply it to every single road that is in those two programs.
I'm struggling with the wordsmithing on this. Do you have proposed? If you can give some words, let's do
Sure.
it. If not,
Okay.
We gotta start moving on here.
Okay.
Because I understand the intent to be what Dharma and Raymond just specified, but if it's not clear that that is the intent, maybe come up with a different way of wording the to evaluate opportunities section. Is there something on top of your head that would make it more clear?
No, I guess I was focused on giving it a deadline or giving it a date for our goal. So no, I don't have language for that.
Is that something in the translation to city council maybe that can be made more clear, the direction? I don't know. If we don't have, I just don't want to delay this for that purpose. To maybe more clearly, explicitly state what staff and Dharma understand to be the intent. Dharma?
Likely I will just bring forward what Transportation Commission passes, but certainly I will be going to that meeting, having listened to all of the feedback, and changes can be proposed at the table. So I appreciate.
Okay.
That's another avenue.
All right.
I probably wouldn't do a lot of wordsmithing prior to taking it, except for the friendly amendments that we've talked about. I would carry it forward as we do in this meeting.
Are there any other amendments proposed for this? Not, I'd like to maybe get a vote on this. Unless there are no motions to delay it to the next month's meeting. Okay. Seeing none, can I get a motion to recommend approval of the resolution to accelerate safety improvements on multi-lane roads?
So moved.
And seconded by Julie. All those in favor, please say yes or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Yeah.
All those opposed, please say no or raise your hand. The motion passes. So I think we're all looking forward to seeing this at the next or a near council meeting in the near future. Thank you very much for bringing this, Dharma, and for all the discussion.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
All right, next up, information and discussion section, program to educate all cyclists presentations. We're joined this evening by Jonathan Waterman and other members of PEAK, the program to educate all cyclists. Jonathan, the floor is yours to tell us about your organization, please.
Excellent. If I've been unmuted, give me a thumbs up, somebody, so I know you can
You're
hear.
good.
Super cool. All right, guys, quick introduction of individuals around the room sitting here with me. PEAK's a program that's dedicated to empower individuals through active modes of transportation, biking, buses, and walking. Your discussion of road diet just fits right in our wheelhouse and what we believe, and please keep up that great work on it, and thank you for passing that measure. Michaela, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, my name is Michaela Todd. I have 3 disabilities. I have Down syndrome, cognitive impairment, reading and math is hard for me, and I've had hearing loss, and then I also have anxiety.
Great. And so when you say cognitive impairment, that means reading and writing is tough?
Yes, it is, and so it's time.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Michaela. We'll be coming back more to your story, and we have.
Hey, my name is Hiro. I have Down syndrome.
And great, you have Down syndrome, and this is your first time ever doing this, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you, Shayla, for coming here and being one of our rookies. To my left here, we have.
Hi, my name is Cody Avery, and I have Down syndrome.
You
have autism,
and so, Cody, when I see you moving a lot and shaking a lot there, is that okay?
Yes.
And does that mean you're a big guy, right?
Yes.
You're happy though, right?
Yes.
And that's just kind of your normal motions and stuff like that.
Yes.
Sometimes people get afraid of you because of it.
Yes.
No, but you're happy and you're in a good mood. But you do move a lot, and that's kind of your disability, isn't it?
Yes.
Excellent. And we have.
Sean Cosman.
Louder.
Sean Cosman and PEAK.
And do you have a disability, Sean?
I do.
And what is it?
Reading is tough.
Reading rate tough, and I call that a cognitive impairment, right?
Yep.
Excellent. All right. And
Hi, my name is Teresa Sims. I'm from Taylor, Michigan, and I have a cognitive impairment, which means reading and writing is tough.
Thank you. And guys, we're going to talk a little bit about our story, and that we're here to share what it takes and what the roads are. And one of the things we talk about are roads. We basically look at a road as either mean or what? Nice, right? Mean or nice. And it's really pretty simple how we locate it, and we get feelings of that. And we have stories of what has happened to us personally on these roads, but also what makes a mean road and makes a nice road. And it sounds like city council there, or the transportation committee there in Ann Arbor, was trying to make a road mean or nice, right? And so what we can do, battery on our computer's running low, so hopefully we'll get through this. We're going to do a quick plug-in. So a mean road, as we start talking about where we ride, when you guys think of Fort Street and Southfield, that intersection, is that mean or nice? Mean? Do you think it's mean, Sean?
Yes.
Okay, so when you say mean, what do you mean by a mean road? What makes a road mean?
The cars go too fast.
You said the cars go too fast. You guys got to speak up. You guys have all the right answers.
I'm a
Be
little
bold,
bit
be
scared.
proud, right? Makes you're scared of mean roads? Yes, that's something mean roads get scared. That's one thing we need to talk about a lot, is if you're scared of a road, we do not want to live in a society that we are scared to walk in. We do not want to live in a place where we're scared to ride. And if we can make it safe for us to bike and ride, we can make it safe for everybody, right?
Right.
You should not be scared to walk to the store. And we're living in a world where people are scared to walk.
Right.
Have you ever been afraid to ride your bike, Sean?
Yep, there's too many trucks
Too many trucks, and they go too fast.
and too fast.
Yeah. So when you talk about it, Sean, you live in a very you live in Canton, right off of Michigan Ave and Haggerty. That's a really busy place. How do you get to work? When you go, when you go to the gas station, how did you get there?
On my bike.
On your bike. You rode your bike down the road. And something special happened while you were working there, right? What did they do?
Probably new bike.
Well,
Right.
do you remember the bike path?
Need the bike, yeah.
Yeah, that went under 275.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a great day?
Yeah.
Because now what could happen? You could go right directly to work, right?
Yeah.
You didn't have to worry about all those cars on Michigan Ave.
Nope.
And it made a really nice road for you, and you're safe. You're separated from cars. In your rides to work, have you ever been hurt?
Once.
Once?
I was coming home from work.
You were coming home from work. What happened?
I had a green light, the car did not see me.
You had a green light, and the car did not see you. He hit you?
Yeah.
Whose fault was it?
The driver.
The driver's fault? Did he feel bad?
He did.
He did. What did he do?
I mean, no bike.
Yeah, that was before they really didn't ticket him. They said, "Don't make this a big offense." The police would kind of let him go on his way, but he felt so bad he bought you a new bike. What type of bike did he buy you?
The Canyon.
A new Cannondale mountain bike?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a pretty fancy bike, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that your favorite bike to ride right now? Not right now. What's your favorite bike to ride now? The new one. Who built that new bike?
I did.
You did. As you can see the wheels behind us, you built that bike. And what does it have to make it better for you?
That's
You like the disc brakes on it.
Yeah.
And so you ride your bike. Your bike's, if you go to the, you like to go to, what is it, Burger King?
Yeah, Burger King.
You take the bike to Burger King?
Yeah.
And so that bike is how you get around.
Yeah.
That makes you independent? Wow, that's
Yeah.
great. So talking about stories of travel, that separation, that path made his life safer and more independent. And you were part of that. You talked about it. You shared about it. And so the city of Ann Arbor has been doing some pretty cool things with separation of cyclists and motor vehicles to make it safer. Riding shouldn't just be done by cyclists that are road warriors. Myself, who's less concerned about riding on the road, shouldn't be the only person able to ride. I think also another great story we have is Taria. Taria, as we're talking about you, I'd like to brag a little bit about you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Do you sit on any committees?
The RTA.
The RTA Citizens Advisory Committee? So that means you vote for stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and you and I both sit on that committee, right? It took a little time to get used to that, didn't it?
Yeah.
Do you remember those first couple meetings? You always looked at me, right?
Yeah.
Before you voted, wanted to see what I thought.
Right.
And now what do we do? Who makes your choices?
Me.
Me do. And if we don't agree and we vote differently, then do I get mad at you?
No.
No, it's your choice, and I want you to vote. You don't vote on what I think. The big thing we have is we get caught so often with brainiacs making our decisions. And sorry if we offend people there, but there are a lot of brainiacs here, right?
Right.
A lot of the discussions we heard today sounded like what? Brainiacs?
Yeah.
And we understand the importance of that, and we applaud you being there. But when it comes right down to it, is this road going to be nicer or meaner with what we decide to do? And that's what we want. We want places where we are not afraid to ride and to walk. Sharia, something happened to you to walk to work, and you working at Burger King, right?
Yes.
What happened?
The street was flooded, so I didn't have a detour to get to the next bus stop.
So you're telling me you left early in the morning on time, you're walking, what bus number was it?
125.
You're gonna get on the 125, you're coming there, and all of a sudden, what do you see in front of you?
Big puddle of water.
Big old puddle of water, it's flooded.
Right.
And then, who had the detour?
The cars.
The cars. What about pedestrians?
Yep.
No detour, so you didn't know how to get to where?
The next bus stop.
The next bus stop, so what did you have to do?
Call off work.
Call off work. Did that make your boss happy?
No.
No, it didn't. And were you happy?
No.
No, and detours, especially for pedestrians and accessible detours, are something we really, really miss. During construction projects, during everything, whenever we're putting a detour in a road, we need to think about the pedestrians that need to get from one place to another. Also, I remember you taking that 125 at night.
Yeah.
And I kind of learned your route, didn't I? With you, and we did it.
Yeah.
And you had to go under that bridge.
Yeah.
And that was a train bridge, right?
Yeah.
What was the problem with that bridge?
It was dark and there was no lights.
It was dark and there was no lights?
Yeah.
Did that make you kind of scared?
Yeah.
Did you ever run under? What'd you do?
Yeah.
Man, did you ever think people were behind you?
Sometimes, yeah.
And I can tell you, I was scared walking down there. There was times I was looking around thinking, what's going on? Because it was so dark and you were coming home at night and all you wanted to do was be able to get to your job and to get home. Guys, keep up the work you're doing there. We should not be scared to walk home. We should not be scared to be walking in our communities. We just lost our overhead light there, guys. So we're going to be a darker, seedier group. You
It's okay. We can still see it just fine.
Okay, good. All right.
Oh, there we go.
And so as we start talking about these stories, this is a lot of the stuff that you guys share here, right? Lighting, safety, and stuff like that. We're going to go back to the stage of what makes a mean road and what doesn't. Guys, raise your hand. Who rides a bike here at Peak and has done our 2-mile loop? Excellent. Is our 2-mile loop on the road?
Yes.
Yes. When we're riding that 2-mile loop, we talk about some things. We have some responsibilities when we ride. What do we need to be?
Be respectable.
You got predictable. When we're riding our bikes, we need to be predictable. The cars need to know what we're going to do. What does predictable look like?
You have to be serious.
You have to be serious, right? You ride what? In a
straight line.
In a straight line. You hold a straight line. You ride through. We be focused. We stop at the what? Stop signs.
Some people can swerve sometimes when you ride bikes.
And when you're swerving, what happens? The car doesn't know what you're doing, right?
Right.
So we need to be predictable. When we're riding on that road and we're sharing it with the cars, which is a neighborhood road behind our building, right? It's a 2-mile loop. We're talking Lincoln Park, an area that may not be noticed, really well known for, bike accessibility. But is it safe?
Yes.
Yeah. Do we have a lot of friends?
Yes.
People wave at us, people talk to us, and we ride there in that community. Now let's change the route a little bit. Let's move over here to Fort Street.
Oh, no.
Who wants to ride their bike down Fort Street? Raise your hand.
Not me.
No. Why?
Because it's not safe.
It's not safe.
No, not me.
Is it a nice road or a mean road to ride on?
Me.
What makes it mean?
Because drive too fast.
Cars are too fast.
Or they don't pay attention.
And then sometimes a truck, remember a truck will get too close?
Yeah.
And then we get caught off and then you call up the people. And people can honk.
So we got cut off by a truck, right, in a ride?
Yeah.
And so it was a company's truck. And what were we able to do? We called the company, right, and said, hey, you guys, this is what happened. They passed well within 3 feet of us. They honked their horn. They were being rude, weren't they?
They're mean.
Mean, yeah, they're being mean. They're mean drivers. And we talk about that, mean or nice. Do we want places to be mean or do we want places to be nice?
Nice.
And it's really simple, guys. And looking at that, cars that are driving too fast are what?
Mean.
When a road has too many cars and they're all racing there, it's what?
Selfish.
Selfish, yeah. Mean, not caring about it.
Or they're not paying attention.
Not paying attention. Taria, you have a cognitive impairment. I heard you're teaching individuals how to use the smart bus.
Yes.
You're going into a school and working with other kids with disabilities?
Yes.
Do they look up to you?
Yes.
They do. And so when we're doing that instruction and you're working out here, what makes you afraid of your students and kind of scares you that you don't want them to get hurt?
The cars hit you.
The car's hitting them. Yeah. And there's one thing when we start talking about intersections, right?
Yeah.
What makes you feel safer in intersections?
There's a Crosswalk sign.
Crosswalk sign, yes. Signalization is really important, isn't it? And we like that to know when it's safe to go. Did you know in Ann Arbor, if they have a crosswalk, and what does a crosswalk look like? How many lines?
Two.
Two lines, right? Sometimes they have hatches, stuff like that.
Sometimes they might even have 4 or 5.
Yeah, a lot more lines. And then before the crosswalk starts, what is there?
A warning plate.
A warning plate. And that's our word, right? A warning plate. It tells us where to stand. It helps. Who does it help? What type of people? Yeah?
Blind people.
Blind people. Yeah, it helps blind people.
And also, for wheelchairs.
Wheelchairs, yeah, because they had to put that in there because of the ramps, right?
Mhm.
And, you know, we call them warning plates. Do you know what the brainiacs call them? Truncated domes. Isn't that a silly word? Yeah. So, yeah, that's what they called it when they solved it. But it's a warning plate, and it tells individuals with cognitive impairments and autism where to stand. And if we stand behind that, there's a good chance those cars aren't going to hit us, right?
Right.
It doesn't mean always. What happens out here on Southfield and 4th Street at that corner?
They always zoom. They always fast when they turn.
It's like a racetrack, isn't it?
Yes.
And
they
you
don't watch
gotta be
fast.
more careful when you go out of the car.
Yeah, and-
You don't want to get hit, get run over. If you get hit, you get run over, you get killed.
Right.
After you get killed, then you go to the hospital.
And I don't want to get killed.
And I don't want to get killed
Me
either.
Do you want to get killed?
Not me.
Not you, Dad. Not you. I don't blame you at all. So when we're talking about this, these cars they barely yield, right? The light is red, they turn right on red, and what happens? We're trying to cross. I've seen you stick your hand up to stop. Who else have you seen stop the cars?
Oh.
Yeah? Who stops the cars?
The one of the staff is
Caitlin one, yeah.
Kalisha.
Kalisha.
Connor.
Yeah, you've seen staff step out there and stop cars, right? Let's talk a little bit about our relationship with cars, right? Cars don't have to be mean. People driving cars don't have to be mean to us. What makes someone nice in a car? What's the difference? Yeah.
If they give you eye contact.
Eye contact is everything,
And
isn't it?
sometimes you may want
The
to
wave, yeah. So when we're crossing a street and we get eye contact and wave, do we feel safe?
Yes.
Guys, if somebody's looking down in their lap, are you feeling safe to cross the street?
No.
Why?
No, because people
Because
always
they're not
look
paying
at their phone.
They're not paying attention. They're looking at their phone. And that's scary for us, right? We want to see the car's eyes. And so when we do that, there's a lot of things about warning. And we use that, right? What about those driverless cars? You know, people are talking about those? We think those are going to be cool for us, right?
Yeah.
But we want to make sure that there's some way we know that they see us and recognize us, right? So as we start talking about this, we're talking about these different types of roads and different types of things. In Ann Arbor, did you know if you're in the crosswalk, guess what? Yes, the cars stop. Does that happen here?
No.
No. Thank you, Ann Arbor. We love you for that. And so those cars stopping means we can get there and we can stop and we can feel safer, right?
Yes.
Didn't some of you guys go bike riding with me in Ann Arbor? Sean and Tria, what bikes did you ride? E-bikes, the spin bikes, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about the spin bikes?
They're cool.
Thumbs up? Well, what made them so cool?
Fast.
Fast? And I don't know which one of you said it, but I think the word that was coined was it feels like I'm always going downhill. So I think e-bike should take that and market that, Sean and Tria. You guys want to take credit for that?
Yeah.
So mark that down. I see it's been recorded here. So if anybody says an e-bike feels like you're always going downhill, that's a peak trademark, right?
Yeah.
But we like it. It was cool. Guys, the stuff we're sharing about roads, about that, a lot of people know. But a lot of times when somebody speaks up, somebody in a car says it's going to slow us down. I heard some discussion earlier about traffic flow and how the cars get through an area and what's going to happen if buses slow it down. And you hear him talking about that zero thing? You guys hear the word zero?
I never heard of it.
You never heard of it? I know, something I haven't shared enough with it. I feel bad. Zero means these guys sitting at this committee means 0 people should die getting to work or walking or biking or transferring.
Or steps.
Or steps. Yeah. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Does that sound like what we should be doing?
Yeah.
What type of roads could lead to 0 deaths? Mean roads or nice roads?
Nice roads.
Nice roads. So these guys should just be making nice roads, right?
Yeah.
They should be making places that we're not afraid to walk. Guys, some of you guys have jobs here and you're paying, yep, you do, yep, and you guys are paying taxes.
And I'm also got a job too.
Yep. And so if you have a job and you're paying taxes, they should be making roads for you. Your tax dollars pay for those roads. Sometimes people think of doing it just out of the goodness of their hearts, but you guys can't get to work if you can't walk there.
Right.
You can't support yourself and be independent if you can't ride your bike to work. And we're looking at independence here. Do you want to be independent?
Yeah.
You want to live on your own?
Yeah.
You want to be able to walk to work? Or ride your bike to work?
My bike.
You want to ride your bike? Yeah, it's faster. Riding a bike is much cooler, guys. We all know
I need
that.
to live on my own.
You like?
I need to have my partner.
Yeah, well, and so Pete doesn't talk a lot about relationships. And I really do think that it's really cool you want to live on your own with your partner, right? And that's really cool. And you want to be independent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as we're continuing on with what we're discussing here about the roads and the safety, we want to see what type of roads.
Nice.
Nice roads. Let's tell them what makes a nice road. What makes a nice road?
When the car sees.
When the cars can see you. Who wants to be next to cars? Not you?
No, not me.
Yeah.
Now you want to be end up dying.
So we like separation, right? Between cars and roads. And these guys, these brainiacs already know this. We're just helping them a little bit, right? So we want cars not to be near us. We want cars to be what? Nice. Nice. And do that. We just don't want people to be mean riding around it. That's what we need.
Right.
No beeping either.
No beeping. Gosh, when they beep at each other, they're honking at each other.
And sometimes no cut off with that other truck.
Cutting us off, yeah, with the other trucks and stuff
And
like
you
that.
have to call up the company.
That's right. We'll call the company. You know we
And then
will.
you also there's the thing. What is that thing called?
The license plate.
The license
Yes.
plate? Yep, we'll look at the license plate. So looking at the time and looking at doing this, did you know Ann Arbor colored their bike paths a very specific color? Anybody know what color it is? Orange. Oh,
Sometimes it's gonna be red.
nope. Red's for the bus stop.
Green.
Green, yeah, they colored it green. They made these green lanes and these green boxes where you can ride.
And the cars can see you.
The cars can see. They know that that's your area. This is their area. Do you know what else they did? They
And
put
those
some.
sticks.
Yeah, they added sticks, and they put those sticks in there, so the cars would hit the sticks before they hit who?
The person on
Us,
the
yeah. And that's nice. And so those protected bike lanes is what they're called.
Yeah.
Is and that makes it better for us riding, right?
Yeah.
In doing that. We have a lot of amazing stories you guys have. A lot of the amazing stories you could hear here are the difference between making our community safe. We want enough time to cross the street, right?
Right. Yeah.
We have friends in wheelchairs.
Right.
We would like to see buttons that could extend our time to give individuals with disabilities more time to walk. Shayla, you have Down syndrome, right?
Yeah.
And Down syndrome sometimes causes low muscle tone, heart issues, right?
I had
And
that.
you have heart issues and stuff like that. So you can't walk as fast as everybody else. You have short legs, right?
And yeah.
Yeah. And so you don't get across it. So instead of us just having a button to slow it down for that, what about a disability button that could extend the time? Would you guys like that?
Yeah. And what about an anxiety attack?
Anxiety attack, that's something a little different, but you get anxiety when people are being what? Nice or mean? Mean,
And
yep.
sometimes I have anxiety kind of like overburdened.
Yeah, that's it. All right, so now that we're talking about transportation, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna get right back to that road and focus on that. What about warning plates? Should there be warning plates at every intersection?
Yes, but some don't.
Some don't. Oh, that doesn't make you mad.
Makes me frustrated.
Now, Ann Arbor has this problem too that Fort Street has. Who's ever gotten off the bus? Mr. Carpenter here is in charge of the buses in Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
So when we go to Ypsilanti and we work with those groups, he's actually the guy who runs the ride, which is just like the smart bus system.
Nice.
When they set up a bus stop,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden they set up a bus stop on the other side of Fourth Street, what's the problem?
It's so fun.
It's too, what, can you cross Fourth Street there usually at most bus stops?
No.
No, you have
That's
to like,
dangerous.
you have to walk a
None of
far,
that sprint.
yeah, you gotta sprint, you gotta walk a far, long ways down
Yeah.
and come across. Do you ever see people crossing at places without crosswalks to get across the other bus stop?
You have to walk.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes you
yeah.
have to walk on the grass.
And they walk on the grass and they do that, and it's scary, right?
Yeah.
So one thing is this, we love bus stops and more bus stops, right? But when they're placed, we need to work with the cities and talk with systems of how do we get those crosswalks close to the bus stop?
Yeah.
If we have a bus stop on one side of the road, why don't we have a crosswalk or an immediate access to the other side of the road?
Yeah.
And so this infrastructure stuff, the challenge with that is both the city and the bus system have to work together.
Right.
But sometimes it's the city, the county, and the bus system. And sometimes it's even the city, the county, and the state.
Okay.
So it's a lot. Yeah, oh, that's too many. That's so many
That's
people.
too
Right?
many people.
Makes it so tough. Believe you me, you see the smiles here?
Yeah.
They know it's too many people, and they make it tough to make those decisions.
Sometimes they get scared when people get walked in the dark and can't really see nothing when you're in the dark.
So if it's in the dark, we get scared, right?
Yes.
Do we like lights on our sidewalks?
Yes.
Yes.
Do we want people to be able to see us walking?
Yes.
Do we want to be able to see other people when we're walking?
Yeah.
Because it's nice to give us what? Space,
Space
right? And to be safe.
and safe.
So guys, we've asked a lot of questions. Now we want to answer questions, or anybody that has a question here, feel free to ask it. What's usually going to happen is we talk about cognitive accessibility. And so phrases and breaking things up. And even during that meeting, I was saying things during the meeting they had about road diets and stuff like that. So I may rephrase your question to make it more cognitively accessible for our students. So anybody would be excited to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. What questions or comments do people have? Yeah, Pete.
Hi, thanks, Peak, for your work. Thanks, John, for your work with Peak and everyone on your team. I'm wondering, is there an example either near you or in Ypsilanti of a recent improvement to roads and streets that you think is really good and that you were really happy to see and is a example for what could be a model or what we should be aspiring to?
So do you guys remember, so we have two buildings, guys. We have the building we're in right now is in Lincoln Park. We also have another building in Ypsilanti. And so do you guys remember we went to the Ypsilanti building to go for that ride?
Yeah.
Yeah, and do you remember Michigan Ave, the really busy road? What did we do to cross Michigan Ave at the bike path? You walked, what did you get? Remember that? You know, we had the Hawk. So the Hawk on Michigan Ave was something that allowed us to connect the border-to-border trail. So I think if you're saying something that's great, that's a good improvement. Another improvement is anytime we have traffic calming to slow down vehicles, it helps with processing. When you have a cognitive impairment, many times there's a processing delay. So if I'm looking one way and cars are coming at me 55 miles an hour, I look at the other way and it's taking me a little longer to process. By the time I start crossing and look back, the world has changed. So every time we can slow down vehicles, make it safer for individuals who may have a cognitive impairments or processing delays.
Great, thank you. Anyone else?
It looks like
my hand is up.
Oh yeah, Larry.
What is your organization again? And I'm a liaison to the Commission on Disability Issues, and they might want to know what your organization is and what you guys are doing.
Excellent. Our organization is PEAK.
This transportation?
Yep. Active transportation, biking, buses, and walking.
And there's another building, Ypsilanti.
Yep. Ypsilanti is the other building. So we have buildings in Ypsilanti and Lincoln Park. The majority of our work, this group here is working in our Lincoln Park. They're part of our community explorer group. So the group is PEAK, P-E-A-C.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank you so much, Jonathan, and everybody around the table there for coming out. I'm so glad that we got you guys onto our agenda finally. It's instructive, but also I hope everyone else feels inspired. And it's always good to have a strong connection, more than just at a theoretical level of why we do what we do and why we need to keep pushing and keep going down the path and following our plans, developing our plans. It's really good to meet and see the people that benefit from the work that our city and our city staff are trying to do. So thank you so much for what you've done here today for us, but especially for what you and your group do. What do you do for the group? It was great. Thank you so much for coming tonight and for sitting around for the previous discussions.
Well, we're honored to be here. Thank you so much for letting us do that. And we definitely want to make sure we keep sharing to the community. We want nice roads. We want places where we're not afraid to walk or bike. We should not be afraid to use our community. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
I think you've put, I think you've summarized it and put a better point on it than I ever could. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Have a good night. All right. Moving on to the annual crash report. Every year we receive a presentation from staff about crash trends over the past year and trends over the last 5 years. So we're joined tonight by Cynthia Redinger this evening, who will give us a presentation on these crash trends. Cynthia? There you are. Hello. I assume you're going to want to share your screen. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, but I'm going to let Raymond go first.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly mention we have. I just want to be cognizant of time. So if you're comfortable proceeding tonight on this, we're happy to do that. We're ready to do that. If you want additional time to discuss it, we're happy to come at a future meeting. So I just wanted to be mindful of that. And then
I think it's good to at least get into it now because, oftentimes people will come up with questions and requests for more detailed responses on certain crashes or certain trends. So, if we have any of those, we can come back at another meeting. But
yeah, I'm gonna have to hop off at 9. I will still have quorum, but just putting out there that it's tough to go past 9.
Yeah, after this, it's staff report and updates. But yeah, let's at least give 15 minutes or so here for to go over the crash report, the highlights, and if there's questions, more details, we can request maybe another topic in the future. So without further ado.
Okay. I want to thank the commission for having me this evening. My name is Cynthia Redinger, and I'm one of our transportation engineers. As you're aware, last year we shifted our crash reporting from a static model to an online model that is available to the public, and you've had a little over a month to spend with that crash data. We did not prepare the traditional sort of static document and presentation as has been done in past years. And one of the things that we had asked the Transportation Commission for was what you might be interested in hearing about a little bit more in depth, since all of the data is already available to everyone online. So very briefly, we did see a little bit of an uptick in overall crashes last year. And that's one of the reasons why we do look at that 5-year rolling average trend, because we can see that we are still in a downward trend as far as that goes for overall crashes. For our severe injury crashes, those are our fatalities and our incapacitating injury crashes. We also saw an uptick in 2022. However, that trend line is still continuing downward for us, although it does not fluctuate as much. So it is a little bit more of a stable trend line, which, while that may seem disappointing in some respects, we know that throughout the state there has been an increase in severe injury crashes. So we are happy to see that we are still continuing in this downward direction. Just
And
similar.
Cynthia, sorry to interrupt, Cynthia. I don't. Are you referencing?
No, I'm not sharing anything yet. I am intentionally not sharing anything yet. All of this is available on the website. And Larry, Commissioner Keeler, I will definitely be very specific when I am sharing visual information. So similar trends are being experienced with our biking crashes and our overall pedestrian crashes as well. What we wanted to do this evening was something that does get brought up by this body on a regular basis, is an interest in really taking a deeper dive into what are those severe crashes and those severe crashes that are happening on an annual basis. Excuse me. I have plenty of water. We'll get through it. But this will take some time. So if we do at some point, if the body has an interest in postponing the rest of the presentation and the review of the crashes, I'm comfortable coming back at a later time and doing that. So I just did want to make sure that everyone was aware of that. So I'm going to share my screen now. And what I am going to be sharing with you is, instead of it being a PowerPoint presentation, as I've done in the past, this is a spreadsheet, because I'm an engineer and I do everything in spreadsheets. It's a good way to stay organized. So this is a summary of our severe and fatal crashes for the year 2022. This sheet of the spreadsheet provides the crash number, information about whether it's an intersection, crash location, crash type, the number of injuries that we have, the date that it's occurred, the time, traffic control, weather, light conditions, and our focus areas of our plan. So there's a lot of information. I don't actually expect anyone to be able to read through all of this and be able to retain and process it. At this exact moment, we can package this together and share all the things to just point out on a really high level here. We have one blue highlighted crash. That is a crash that occurred on private property on U of M's property. I do want to cover that crash just because it's informative of the rest of the data set as well. And we have orange crashes here. 9 of them were crashes that involved of the intersection or intersection controlled by MDOT, so MDOT's jurisdiction. Just quickly, the overall number of injuries that occurred in these crashes, we have 1 person with a fatality. We have 24 A-level injuries. We have 3 B-level injuries that are in this data set, 2 and 25 no injury. So if you think about it, fatalities are loss of life. A-level injuries are injuries that are incapacitating and may risk loss of life. So those are the severest type of injury. B-level injuries are that could be significant injury, but not threatening. So items such as a broken bone or some laceration and bleeding, abrasions. C-level injuries are injuries that are suspected but maybe not confirmed, and more like bruising. And then property damage only would be no injuries. So moving into the crashes, on this next tab is going to be our first crash. On each of these tabs, I have information about the location that I will read out. I have an image, and my internet connection is unstable. So if you lose me, I apologize. I have an image of the crash area, some information about the contributing factors, and then I have a narrative and diagram that is taken directly from the traffic control order. If at any point in time anyone has any questions, please let me know. And I would like to be able to address those as we're going through these crashes. So this first crash occurred at East Medical Center Drive at the Cancer Center entrance. This is on U of M's property. This is a private location. So we do often call these from the data set so that because we don't have as much influence over it. However, as this is a signalized intersection and we do maintain this signal, I felt the need to keep it in this time. So this crash occurred in February at 7:18 in the morning. It is a pedestrian crash. We had 1 serious injury and 1 property damage only. And it's a multi-lane road, East Medical Center Drive, and it has a bifurcated or boulevarded approach from the cancer center. Some of the contributing factors were that it's a traffic signal. It was dawn. The surface was slushy. We have a failure to yield that occurred in this area. So Unit 1 stated she saw the pedestrian as she was turning. That's the driver, but a vehicle drove in front of her and she turned to avoid the other car. When finished the turn, she struck the pedestrian. The pedestrian stated that she was crossing the street at Cancer Center and she saw the bus waiting to turn, thought the bus driver saw her and started crossing the street, and then the bus was coming towards her and the bus was unable to stop. This is an illustrative crash where there is a left turn that is in conflict with a pedestrian who is in the crosswalk. The left turns at this location are not controlled. So this is a signal where the left turn always has green and is going with the through traffic. So does anyone have any questions about this particular crash?
Pete?
So 2 things. One, I thought you had said that we operated the city of Ann Arbor operated the signal, but the analysis says that the signal is operated by the University of Michigan. So is this a signal that we are able to change or not, I guess is the question. And then the other question that I'd like to know about this crash, or that I'd like answered about this crash and the others, is what initiative do we have planned to address a crash like this? Like, are we looking at places where left turns go across active pedestrian signals, for example? Or are we doing something else?
This intersection and the traffic signal is owned by the University of Michigan. We perform maintenance on this signal. So one of the things that we have done at this intersection is we have implemented an LPI. That's a leading pedestrian interval to give pedestrians the benefit of being able to enter into the crosswalk before traffic does. As this intersection is on private property, it's outside of our control. But this is something that we are looking at with our intersections as far as, you know, what are we doing with our left turns? How are we controlling our left turns? How can we utilize pedestrian push buttons to time isolate pedestrian movements and left turns? So that is something that we're doing on our system.
Was this crash before or after the LPI was implemented?
This crash was in February of 2022. I don't have an exact date of when the LPI was installed at this location, but I do believe that this crash occurred after the LPI was installed.
Okay.
And you know, this is also a very busy time in the morning, and I'm sure there was a lot of activity going on.
Okay. I don't see any other questions for this crash. Looking at the time, do you think we should schedule another topic in the near future, Raymond, to continue going through these? I think these are instructive, you know, this process, and if we need more time, you know, this is the first out of what, 20 some.
Yeah, it's really the discretion of the commission.
Yeah.
I would say to get through all 25 of them will take a fair amount of time. But we're here as long as you want us to be here.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's feasible to do them all tonight, obviously. So let's schedule another agenda topic in the near future, and you know, maybe just in the interest of time for that topic, if there are types of crashes that can be represented by one in particular, maybe I could see, you know, easily spending a couple hours on 20 some of these. You know, if there are 7 or 8 of a particular type, and we can maybe pick one to represent those. But yeah, this is you know, this level of detail and analysis is something I think in my 3 or 4 years on the commission we've kind of been clamoring for, and so I really am happy to see that. I'm thrilled to have gone through one of these, but you know, so I want to have appropriate time to continue going through them. So we'll talk about that at our next agenda setting meeting. But this is, to me, this is exactly, I think, what I you know, I've been kind of interested in seeing for a number of years, because, you know, like the question that Peter asked is, you know, helps us advocate for and understand solutions generally. So any comments? Does that sound okay, Cynthia?
Yeah, postponing is fine. What I can say about our crashes for 2023 is that most of them are fairly unique. They can be broadly categorized as being pedestrian, bicycle related, angle crashes, or single, you know, fixed object crashes. The 2 fixed object crashes are similar, but also pretty unique. The angle crashes, so those are crashes where someone it's either a turn against a through trip or conflicting through trips that are resulting in a crash. Those are fairly similar, but the rest of them are actually fairly unique circumstances.
Okay. And maybe also in the when we do bring this back, if we could include in the packet the details so that commissioners can come to the meeting with specific questions and maybe help guide the conversation in a reasonable amount of time. Thanks, Molly. Bye. In a more reasonable amount of time rather than just kind of going in with it being all completely fresh, each crash. So yeah, maybe we'll if we could get some of the details before the agenda topic, that would help, go through these in a reasonable amount of time. So let's plan on that. Thank you definitely for the summary though. The showing the list of all the 2022 K&A crashes. And yeah, let's dig into the details more later. All right, let's see. 901. So let's move on to a quicker version, I guess, of the staff report and updates. Raymond, if you want to take us through that.
Yes, I should be able to do that. Hopefully that's sharing appropriately now. So the report gets shorter this time of year as more projects get finished. Annual resurfacing project, most of the work is completed, and that which is not is being pushed to 2024. Scioto Church is pretty much all done. The road work is done. The sidewalk is done between Greenview and 7th. So that project will probably come off the list moving forward. So the sidewalk section shows up again under sidewalk gaps completed on Scioto Church. Under DT streetlights, we're tracking 579 streetlights so far that have been repaired this year. Traffic calming, Granger, what we call part 1 from State to Packard, is likely going to be constructed in early 2024. We were hoping to get that in this calendar year, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. We're working on communications back to the neighborhood on that. Baldwin and Manchester were approved by council, as well as Grandview. So those are all going to be programmed for construction in probably the next fiscal year because we're running out of funds this fiscal year. Quick build program, we have been trying to do some intercept surveys and other surveys. So we received 91 so far, just kind of gauging people's understanding and interest about the quick build that are out there. So that's still ongoing. So if you haven't had a chance to see that, feel free to check that out. And we are working currently on the next round of quick builds, which is the putting in the protected bike lanes. So we do hope to bring a future agenda item to you here if that design is wrapped up by next month. Hopefully we can do it then. The bike corral or bike parking pilot program has launched. So if you know of businesses or other areas in the public right-of-way, specifically outside of downtown, where you think there could be some new bike parking added, again, in the public right-of-way, not on private property, there's a way to do that through the city's permitting system. It's a no-fee permit, so you can go into what we call Stream or Energov and request that. Safe streets and roads for all. We hope we're close to finalizing the contract with Federal Highway Administration. It's been 9 months in the making, a lot of back and forth. We cannot proceed with that work until the contract is executed. We have a final draft to Federal Highway that they're circulating on their end. The bike map, we've been in discussions with Washtenaw County and the Washtenaw Area Transportation Study, or WATS, which is the local MPO, to make it more of a regional focus. And so WATS looks like they might take over that initiative. And so we're currently feeding them the data, and hopefully they'll take up that initiative moving forward. World Car Free Day has concluded. That happened at the end of September. 45 people logged nearly 600 trips in 8 days. And then lastly, the Association for Pedestrian and Bicycle Professionals, which is one of the national organizations dedicated to bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure and planning. National conference is going to be held in Detroit next year from August 12th to 14th, and we're working on some submittals for proposals and presentations. But if any of you are interested in that, those are open to the public, and you have to pay to register to do that. But there is an opportunity there since it's being held kind of in our region. I think that concludes it. So pretty quick update tonight.
Thank you very much. Any commissioners who serve as liaison to another body or organization, if you have any reports to provide right now, anyone? Yes, Matt.
Just very briefly, the ride has begun discussions this week on zero emissions bus propulsion. If any of you are interested in learning about hydrogen or battery powered buses, we have a great website, lots of information. Love to hear your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. Dharma?
Just wanted to let folks know that City Council passed the resolution that was brought to Transportation Commission from staff last month regarding the safe crossings as M23, or sorry, US 23 construction begins. Was passed unanimously. We also passed another resolution against building a wall through Ann Arbor. MDOT's plan to wall off the railroad. So hopefully it leads to some action.
Thank you. Ken?
The ride part 2. We're also going to be starting actually next week, October 23rd through November 23rd. We're going to be going out looking for public input for the millage services that are scheduled to go into effect in 2024. So there'll be a combination of virtual meetings in the first week of November and then a set of drop-in meetings in the second week of November. You'll be able to find all the information on how to submit comments online by calling or email or things like that. All that information will be available at theride.org starting next week.
Thank you. Wanu?
Just want to give
Ooh.
There we go. Try again, Wanu.
Okay, is this working?
That's good. Thank you.
Okay, so I've had a bunch of audio issues. That's why there's actually 2 of me in this meeting right now. Apologies. Comprehensive plans kicking off. I think I mentioned this last time. We are having the subcommittee meeting on October 24th. So just wanted to give everybody a heads up. And then there is a steering committee that's going to be selected. We've gotten over 100 applications. So hopefully folks hear of so we're going to have an interesting discussion Tuesday, but just want to let everyone know it's going to be 7 o'clock, October 24th. It's our subcommittee meeting. It'll be about a year and a half, I think, processes, but it'll be important to keep pulse on it. Just want to give everyone a heads up. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other commission member communications? All right.
Yeah, my hand's up.
Oh, I didn't see it. Okay. Sorry, go ahead, Larry.
Well, for our commission on disability issues, we were just going to bring to the commission's attention that we have invited Commissioner Hess or whoever wants to speak on sidewalk gap issues that have been brought to our attention. That were a few sidewalk gaps in town that should be addressed, and that there were some stairways that people wanted to either have removed or to have some kind of indication that there were stairways coming up. For instance, painting a yellow line where you could see the stairway coming up, or putting in, I forget what they call them again, the things at the crosswalk, the bumps at the crosswalk, so that people with disabilities, especially visual disabilities, can know that these steps are coming up. And that was one thing, and the other thing that they want that the commission wants to bring to your attention is that they're going to find out what these how these road diets are going to affect bikers, public transportation, and pedestrians, especially those with those pedestrians who have disabilities and have to worry about tight spots being dropped off in, or bike and car traffic at the same time. And so that's what we had talked about, and I said I was going to bring it up to y'all.
All right, thank you very much, Larry. As always, if there are any requests for agenda items, please email any of us. We'll get them on to an agenda. With that, oh yes, Pete.
So for future agenda items, is the right way to do that to email the entire Transportation Commission, or do we have
you can just email Raymond and or me and or Megan.
Okay.
Or mention it here.
Maybe a silly question. Where can I find your email address?
Maybe just go with Raymond. Or you could email the entire board commission or mention it here. I usually breeze through it here because it's well after 9 o'clock. But do you have something quick that you want to?
No, would be happy to do it by email. I just
just email Raymond. That's easy. I know you have his email, so let's go with that. Okay. We meet every month to set the agenda. So if you send it to Raymond, we'll see it. All right. Thank you. So with that, the next meeting will be held on Wednesday, November 15th, 2023 at 7 p.m. It'll be a virtual meeting. And for that meeting, I will be helping to shepherd a family through Disney World. So you'll be in the very capable hands of Megan. So everyone be good, please. Although I'm sure she can handle anything you can throw at her.
I'll do my best.
So yeah. I will see everyone in December. Yeah, next meeting, November 15th. If there are no objections, we will adjourn our October 28th, 2023 meeting. Seeing no objections, this meeting is adjourned. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.